Some episodes of Drake and Josh are unforgettable, not because they're the wildest or most over the top like Helicopter or Steered Straight, but because they take something stupidly simple and turn it into absolute comedy gold. A harmless bet that spirals out of control, or a surprise visit from Granny. Some of the show's best episodes are built on the simplest premises, and Foam Finger is a perfect example of that. Foam Finger is one of my personal favorite episodes of Drake and Josh. Seeing two grown-ass teenagers beef over something that happened when they were 8 years old is just hilarious to me. And I always loved how we get two different stories of what happened and two different flashback scenes, and you're not sure whose version is the more accurate one until we get a final reveal and final flashback at the end of the episode. This one's pretty iconic, and since it premiered all the way back in October of 2005, the same month Chicken Little was released, I decided it's time for a rewatch to see what really happened at that Padres game back in the 90s. And if you like this one, please be sure to give us a like and maybe even subscribe. I'll get on my knees and screech if you do. And as always, if you have any other shows or episodes you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. All right, let's dive in. So the cold open starts off and Josh is seen actually playing a video game on a Game Boy Advanced SP. And I did complain in my video on The Bet that their so-called addictions are rarely ever seen in other episodes. Josh isn't really seen playing video games outside this episode either. He's usually being a nerd and studying. So I'll give him some points for Josh playing the Game Boy. Anyway, Josh talks about his pet rat Bobo, and Drake talks about a French girl he dated, Monique, who had an allergic reaction to some fudgy brownies Josh made because there were nuts in them. In the kitchen, Megan switches a note that says "do not eat" for a different fake note that says "Dear Drake, please enjoy the last piece of apple strudel." Josh enters the room and is already pissed off because Drake left him at school.
Hey, you were supposed to give me a ride home from school. Oh, sorry, man. I waited as long as I could. How long did you wait? Like 20, 30 seconds? Well, thanks a lot.
Josh becomes straight up livid when he sees Drake eating the strudel. As they start fighting about it, Megan switches the original note back.
You left me a note saying I could have it. Show me the note. You want to see the note?
Show me the note. I'll show you the note.
Property of Josh, do not eat. Ha! Oh.
And if I was Drake, I would be doubting my sanity a little bit. But he doesn't seem to care. He just shoves the last piece of strudel in his mouth, and that's that. Cut to the living room where Megan is knitting, and Drake is copying Josh's answers on their homework. Walter asks if anyone wants to watch some baseball, and Audrey says it's been years since she's been to a Padres game. Megan says we should all go sometime, and the duality of Megan is actually ridiculous. In the first scene, she's making her brothers fight for fun, and here, she's innocently knitting and hanging out with both her parents on the couch, planning fun family activities with them. Impressive. Josh says he will never go to a Padres game again, and Walter tells him he needs to get over it because it's been 8 years. Josh explains some kid attacked him over a foam finger when he was 8, and Audrey says, "Hey Drake, didn't you get into a fight over a foam finger too?"
It was you. It was you?
Wait, I thought you guys didn't meet until you were in the 7th grade.
Well, apparently we did meet before that. Once.
And that's interesting because in Mindy's back, Drake and Josh say they met in the 4th grade.
Like the first time I met Drake. To show him I was cool, I made 2 olives disappear. Up my nose. There's nothing funnier than a 4th grade goob with olives stuck up his nose.
What's the truth? Josh decides to tell his side of the story, and I'm gonna be honest, before we even get into the flashback here, Josh is already in the wrong. Being salty over something that happened in the 2nd grade is not normal behavior, and he needs to let it go. But anyway, he explains that he introduced himself to the kid in front of him in line, who turns out to be young Drake, and who is very rude to Josh in this flashback scene.
Hey, I'm Josh. What's your name? Drake. I'm gonna buy a foam finger. Could you not talk to me?
And I gotta say, I was always so impressed by these little kid actors playing young Drake and young Josh. I thought they looked just like them. So I was curious what they grew up to look like, and first of all, they're both almost 30 years old by now. Ugh. But also, young Josh, in my opinion, did grow up to look a decent amount like the real Josh. Young Drake is sadly harder to find a modern picture of, but he decently looked like Drake as a teenager. So A+ for the casting people on this one. So young Drake lets every little girl in the vicinity cut in line to buy up all the foam fingers. Then Drake buys the very last one himself.
Got any foam fingers left?
Just one.
Good, I'll buy it. So he can't have it. Huh?
Young Drake then thumps young Josh in the back of the head, and a vicious fight breaks out. When the flashback ends, Drake argues that is not how it happened, and he didn't start the fight. He tells his version of the story instead, where young Josh is the obnoxious and rude one.
Next in line.
He said, next in line, get your butt out of your ears. Go to me, sir. I have only 3 weeks to live. May I please cut in front of you? Aw, for the love of crud!
And fun fact, the young actress playing this little orphan girl grows up to be a pretty famous actress. You may know her as Carl's former girlfriend from Shameless, and more recently, teenage Misty from Yellow Jackets. So young Drake lets her cut in line, and she buys a foam finger, leaving only one left. After Drake buys the last one, Josh attacks him, and another vicious fight breaks out. And I love how the detail they can both agree on is that law enforcement had to be called over to break up a fight between 2 8-year-olds. That's pretty hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. Josh accuses Drake of making that whole story up, and we get one of the most famous quotes from all of Drake and Josh.
You made that whole story up. No, you started that fight. You calling me a liar?
I ain't calling you a truther.
And yeah, I may or may not still quote that line to this day. Josh then bitches at Drake that he ruined his first ever baseball game, and again, Josh is being a dramatic little whiny ass child here. If anything, they should laugh about how crazy it is that they actually ran into each other as little kids before officially meeting. But instead, Josh wants to hold a grudge all these years later. Drake gets rightfully annoyed back at Josh and decides to go rub it in by pulling out his foam finger that he kept for all these years.
Foam finger? That finger should belong to me. Yeah, well, you can't have it. You know why? Why? 'Cause I'm number one.
Josh grabs it from him and rips the finger in half, actually damaging Drake's property, which is a crime. And when Drake says, "Hey man, not cool, you crossed the line," Josh replies, "You crossed the line 8 years ago." Josh needs therapy. Drake says he's moving out, grabs his shit, and bounces. Cut to Drake sleeping in the living room with a soda can rope burglar alarm that falls on top of Josh and takes him out as he tries to, I don't know, what the fuck's he even trying to do? Drake has the same question and asks Josh what he's doing in his room. And Josh replies,
This is the living room. And, yeah, living!
Josh then asks Drake, "You wanna tussle?" And for some reason, I remember Josh saying this phrase a lot, but Drake reacts with confusion, like, tussle? Huh? What the hell is that?
Okay, you want to tussle?
Tussle?
So, I don't know, maybe this is Josh's first time ever saying it, but I definitely remember "you wanna tussle" as being a famous Drake and Josh quote back in the day. Their parents get woken up by all the commotion, and they tell Drake to clean his shit out and get back to his room. Drake says, not till he apologizes, and Josh says, "Why don't you apologize for ruining my childhood?" Your whole childhood, Josh? Seems a little dramatic, don't you think? Walter tells Drake he can't stay in the living room.
Josh, go to bed. Drake, you can do what you want, but you're not allowed to stay in this living room.
Walter telling Drake he can do whatever he wants except the specific thing he wants to do is low-key funny because he can't do whatever he wants. He wants to stay in the living room. You're kicking him out, I don't get it. The cans fall on both the parents as they start to go back to their bedrooms. And how did Drake rig those cans to fall exactly? What fucking mechanics did he use? It seems a little high-tech for what someone of Drake's IQ should be capable of. Later on, Walter goes into the bathroom and screams. rooms, then kicks Drake out of the bathroom, telling him he can't sleep there either. So Buddy really cannot do whatever he wants. With nowhere else to go, Drake goes and sleeps on the floor in Megan's room. She tries to kick his ass out because his snoring woke her up, but he won't wake up. So she takes a microphone, hooks it up to a speaker, puts it next to Drake's head, and wakes him up with his own snoring. He tells her he's not leaving and he has nowhere else to go. She says just go sleep in the attic, but he says no way, there's monsters up there. Then he just says, look, I'm sleeping here tonight if you have to remove my organs or torture me or whatever, but I'm doing it. And surprisingly, Megan just says fine, whatever, and lets him stay. Kinda nice of her, to be honest. At dinner the next day, Drake and Josh keep on beefing with each other.
All right. Dinner is over.
What? Every single person still has a plate full of food. No one has finished eating yet. And for that matter, Megan and Audrey haven't done anything wrong. Why is he punishing the entire family? So they all abandon their plates entirely filled with food, and the doorbell rings. Megan goes to answer it, and it's none other than Lenny, the eye patch guy from the Padres stadium, who, fun fact, actually played Mr. Lowe on Ned's Declassified. Drake and Josh can't believe it and say, whoa, no way, you're the foam finger guy. And he corrects them and says, no, now it's bobbleheads, because I got promoted. And honestly, good for him. Audrey says that he probably doesn't even remember the incident from 8 years ago.
Oh, I remember these boys. Not too often you have to call the cops on two 8-year-olds.
So Lenny tells his version of the story, aka the truth, and the very anticipated flashback starts up.
I was selling foam fingers. It was late in the afternoon.
Buddy, I know you got one bad eye, but you're selling a fucking doll, not a fucking foam finger. So we see Audrey give Drake money to go buy a foam finger, and right off the bat, this version is a little bit different than the kids' side of the stories, since neither parent was seen or mentioned in either of their flashbacks. Audrey gives Megan a cookie in her stroller, and young Josh meets young Drake in line. Both of them are perfectly nice to each other in this version, with both the kids remarking how cool it is that they're both about to buy a foam finger. Suddenly, the little orphan girl walks over, except she's just a normal girl in this version. She and her friend ask if they can cut in line, and honestly, I really like how it's a blend of both of their stories. In Josh's version, Drake lets a bunch of girls cut in line. In Drake's version, it was only one single girl and she was a dying orphan. In the real story, it was multiple girls, but it was only 2, and both Drake and Josh agreed to it. I mean, come on. Drake had some riz even back in the day, so of course he had to let those girls cut in line. We also get some cute dialogue about how young Drake and young Josh's parents would get along.
My dad's a weatherman. Wow, my mom loves weathermen. Thanks.
So Drake buys the last foam finger and tells Josh he's really sorry. Josh whines, "Daddy!" And what's your daddy gonna do for you, Josh? Huh? There's no foam fingers left. He's not gonna steal it from the kid who rightfully purchased it. Then, Megan launches the cookie her mom gave her at Josh, and it hits him in the back of the head. How did Josh think that was Drake? It was just completely the wrong angle for Drake to have hit him there. Josh should have known better. I don't care if he's 8 years old or what. He should know better. For that matter, it was kind of the wrong angle for Megan to be throwing it as well. Whatever. The two boys start fighting, and of course, the cops have to come break it up. Iconic. But little did Josh know that this was his first of many, many unfair arrests later in the series. And I always remember Drake doing that little cowboy kick thing at Josh. Also, I gotta point out that Audrey was pretty close by during the entire event. Why didn't she break it up? Why'd she leave it to the cops?
We really appreciate you clearing this up for us.
Oh, I'm just happy I could help out. Oh, the girl did mention $100.
Lenny then gives them a bobblehead before he leaves, which Drake and Josh start fighting over. The family is goddamn sick of their shit and locks them out of the house, and I don't blame them. Later, Josh is seen creepily role-playing with his Oprah cardboard cutout, and honestly, I think there's no lower half to this Oprah cutout because Josh is busy pounding the shit out of it. Drake enters the room and asks if it's cool if he moves back in. He offers up the foam finger as a peace offering, which he fixed with a hot glue gun, and I'm not buying it. I think they definitely filmed this scene scene before ripping it. That foam finger looks a little too perfect to me. So the final scene in the episode is a flash forward to the boys when they're 80 years old. They fight over some oatmeal, and it's pretty hilarious that Megan is their caretaker. And when she brings them their food, they don't even say thank you, by the way. So, as revenge, she throws what appears to be another cookie at Josh, returning to her old tricks. And of course, Josh blames Drake just like he did when he was 8 years old, causing them to have an elderly fight. Some things never change. And I gotta say, I absolutely love this episode. But Josh was acting like a total freak pretty much the entire time. Drake was only matching his energy as far as I'm concerned. But Josh was genuinely angry and hostile over events that happened when they were 8 years old, which is just a little hard to respect. And for that matter, Megan was low-key the hero of the episode. Not only did she let Drake sleep in her room during his time of need, without torturing him, might I add, but she also cared enough about Drake and Josh's fighting to actually track down Eye Patch Guy to clear things up. That's more than even their parents did to put an end to the feud. The flashback scenes in this episode are really well casted, iconic, and unforgettable. Foam Finger is an overall hilarious episode, and when it comes to Drake and Josh, I'm not sure how you could really ask for anything else. This has got to be one of my favorite episodes in the entire series. But enough of me yapping. What do you guys think of Foam Finger? Do you think it's fitting that Drake and Josh got into a massive fight the first time they ever met? Or were you not feeling this one? Let me know in the comments, and let's kick it. As always, I gotta give a cheeky, sneaky, freaky shout out to the Patreon and channel members. I've got a special haiku to make your ears tremble. Foam finger in hand. Not the one you cheer with, though. Thrust it in your ass. All right, I cannot thank you guys enough. The members and the viewers and the subscribers, the commenters, the likers, the dislikers, all of you guys. If you stuck around this long, you're awesome, you're dope. Maybe subscribe and check out some other videos. And do yourself a favor and take a little bit of a break this week. Just a few minutes, unwind, relax, maybe put your phone away. All right, thanks for listening.